Okay.
You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
There's no need to fear.
Let's go, baby. There we go. That's what I'm talking about, Jack. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., Wednesday through Sunday. You can see our Facebook show on Mac Sports and also on Northeast Streaming Sports Facebook page, with our platforms also on Twitter and Instagram. Like, follow, comment, share, and subscribe when possible. Check out the website, Northeast Streaming Sports at enssp.info. We have our weekly guests. We have team public relations updates, a list of shows on Northeast Streaming Sports, our great sponsors, and links to their products and services. I'm Mac with your co-host, the legendary boxing writer Jack Hirsch, and former president of the Boxing Writers Association of America, bringing you national sports with special focus on Northeast professional sports from New York, Boston, and Philly. How are you doing this morning, Jack?
Very good. A fun day. I always look forward to this day during the year when we decide which two teams are going to be going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, some big football news today for our big football show, Jack. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to knock out our sports updates before we get to all our football. And we're going to
get it out of the way, Matt.
We're going to get in depth into our football with our guest today, folks. With our guest today, folks, Anthony Cervino, our fantasy football expert from Fantasy Football Face-Off. He'll be on in a little while, followed by Robert Butler from SportsScope. He's a host over here, does a sports broadcast, Jack, and he's very knowledgeable, sometimes controversial, but always thought-provoking. So let's get to our updates. Steph Curry passes Reggie Miller for third on all-time three-point shooting, now behind the great Ray Allen, Jack.
Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, Steph Curry, they're sharpshooters. They are sharpshooters, phenomenal shooters, and you kind of wonder how they developed that skill. I mean, to be such great shooters. Mac, I once went to a birthday party that was held at Madison Square Garden on the court. The guy had to pay a fortune of money. It was held after an NBA game that was on a Sunday afternoon. And I took 4 shots at the basket. I missed all 4. And what I noticed, those rims, the NBA rims are so tight compared to the playground. People don't realize what a great shooter you have to be in the NBA.
Yeah. I mean, every time I shot, I played playground and I did play some basketball, organized. And yeah, the rims are totally different, Jack. I mean, they are very thick compared to what you play on the playgrounds. Let's see. We also have, don't look now, Jack, but the Washington Capitals in the NHL are 3-0. But they played the Buffalo Sabres all 3 times, Jack. So
again, Mac, it's too early. But the Capitals, it's predicted that they're going to have a good year. The Sabres are intriguing. They haven't been in the playoffs in a long time. And this was the year they were supposed to make a step up and take a serious run at nabbing a playoff position. But they've gotten off to a slow start, the Sabres. But let's see. We're really in the early going. I said that yesterday. 100%. We have to wait a couple of more weeks until we see a real trend setting in.
I definitely agree with that, Jack. But also the Bruins beat the Flyers 6-1. That's a pretty good beatdown The Islanders will play the Devils tonight. The Rangers play the Penguins tonight, and the Sabres and Capitals will play again. Wow.
I
And
don't
then,
understand the Flyers, Matt. They look like world beaters one game, and then the next they fall off the cliff. I just don't understand the inconsistency.
well, they're playing a really good team too, Jack. I mean, the Bruins are no joke. I mean, let's not get it twisted. I mean, that's going to be one of the better teams in the league this year.
Well, the Bruins, under their director of operations, Cam Neely, were kind of transitioning. I mean, they're still contenders, but they're trying to get younger.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's it's once again, it's early. I don't mean to be hypocritical, read too much into it.
Definitely.
But every time you think the Flyers, are going to really put their stamp on things, take off, go on a good run, they suffer defeat like this.
Yeah, definitely. We also have in the NBA real quick, Jack, the 76ers beat the Pistons 114-110. The Bucks are playing the Hawks tonight at 8. The Celtics at the Cavs at tonight at 7. The Nets get by Miami last night, Jack. But the one of the biggest stories coming out of that was that the hug between Kyrie Irving and the other player on the
Adebayo and Miami.
Yes, there you go.
The NBA has a rule now, and it's to protect the players and protect everyone else. They don't want the players meeting at after the game, hugging one another. So they
exchanging
kind of have a wall of
jerseys.
security.
Yeah.
So one of the Miami Heat officials separated the players, and they're doing it for the players' own good.
Yeah.
Okay. The players wanted to exchange jerseys and everything. And, with COVID and all, it's just a precaution the NBA's taking. Are they going a little overboard? I never want to say the NBA is going overboard in the name of safety, but the players who are on the same team obviously are going to have close contact with one another.
Right.
And if everyone is tested the way they should, but I can understand the precaution being taken.
The only thing
in a difficult time.
I'm going to piggyback that real quick, Jack. The only thing I really agreed with is maybe that's a step too far. They're playing against each other. They're rubbing against each other. They're breathing on each other. So exchanging a jersey or hug at the end of the game, I don't know how that hurts or helps in any way, not letting them do that. The Knicks lose to the Kings. They split the series. So they're at 8-9 right now. So let's start getting to our football, Jack. And we'll lead up into Anthony Cervino as we go. The rumbles still continue about Deshaun Watson wanting out of Texas. Now, I mean, is this going to be another example of a player throwing such a fit that he's going to be traded, whether the team wants to trade him or not? I mean,
right now it's speculation, Mac. We haven't heard Deshaun Watson speak. We shouldn't necessarily assume he's demanding anything. Deshaun Watson's entitled to be unhappy. He's entitled to his feelings, especially since the Texans, they asked him for his input in the coaching search. He gave names. They didn't interview the names he gave. And he's thinking, you're asking for my input. We came off a miserable season in which, if you recall, they fired one of their PR people, one of the women, I forgot her name.
Right.
Deshaun Watson was upset about that. J.J. Watt was upset about that. And they're upset about the whole culture of the organization. They traded away his elite wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, last year. He accepted it. He didn't complain publicly, even though, that was a big blow to him. And it gets to the point where he's kind of like fed up. And and if they ask him for suggestions and then they don't pay any attention to what he suggested after they reached out to him, he's not in the mood to return their calls or even talk to them. He needs the cooling off period. And now they want to interview Eric Bieniemy, who Deshaun Watson suggested. And it's like to appease Deshaun Watson at this point. And we don't know. Let's hear from Deshaun Watson first.
I mean, I agree with almost everything you said there. I don't think really a player should have a personal request to management. I mean, he may let it known what he wants, but I think it's wrong for a team to ask a player, especially in football, because there's so many players and there's so many different options you can go with. I don't think a team should be asking any player really who they want as a GM, especially. I mean, that was the first big thing, Jack. And whether
the Texans hired Casemiro, I forgot his first name, as their
Right.
GM from
Right.
New England. He was in the New England organization. Then
That
it
was
came
successful.
out after they hired him, he's not really a personnel guy in the true sense of the word. So they hired a GM whose qualifications on doubt. Even Bill Belichick was reported to be puzzled how the Texans can hire this guy. A lot of people have left Bill Belichick to go elsewhere, and he's never questioned the qualifications of his people who went. But in this case, reportedly, he did. And Deshaun Watson, keep in mind, you're telling him just pick up your paycheck, whatever the organization gives you, whatever GM, whatever coach, whatever players, keep your mouth shut. Just play the game and get your paycheck and do your job. He's entitled to be unhappy. He hasn't held out yet, Mac. He hasn't held out. If he wants to go elsewhere, he's certainly entitled to speak to the organization and let them know. They don't necessarily have to accommodate him. Then we see how it plays out.
all I'm saying, Jack, and I'm not saying shut up and just play. All I'm saying is he's not in that area. Okay. He's not actually going out there and watching and talking to other people about hirings of certain people. He's not in that arena. You know what I'm saying? The GM is not going out to Deshaun Watson and say, I want you to call this play.
They did, but they did. They asked.
I know. I understand that. I understand that. They did ask, and I think that was wrong. Because to me, there's when you run any kind of business, and let's face it, the NFL is a business. That's what it is. I mean, when you're up at corporate, that's what the NFL is. It's not about it's whatever makes them draw more people, make more money, whatever makes their team more competitive, they're going to do. And as far as the players go, everybody within that corporation has certain roles, whether you're a GM, whether you've got a scouting department, whether you're in player personnel, whether you're a president of operations, they all have their jobs. And to me anyway, Jack, I don't care how great a superstar you are. I mean, the organization realizes what your benefit is to that organization. Don't think they don't. They know without Deshaun Watson and some other quarterback there, they probably wouldn't have as good of a team.
Matt,
but let me finish. But they all have their certain areas. You know, the offensive coordinator helps call the offensive the game plan. They all have their certain areas. So for them to ask one player on the team to have a suggestion, I think is totally wrong. J.J. Watts is just as popular and just the main part of the Texans. They're not asking J.J. Watts.
J.J. Watt is unhappy. They're
I understand that,
unhappy with the organization.
Understand, but they're not asking him.
Embarrassment. What's going on?
They're not asking him, Jack, who they should get for a general manager. This is something that other departments are responsible for. Because if they can't do it, Jack, then they don't deserve that job. They should go. Go ahead.
You want someone to be the face of your franchise. You want them to be a leader, and then you don't treat them as such. You have a disregard to Deshaun Watson. He was disrespected. An example could be you and I. Let's say the ratings in our show are really bad. They're not what they should be. The whole format, let's say I'm not happy with it. And you ask me, and we're going to get a third person. Let's make believe the co-host. You ask me for a list of people for you to interview to come on as a third wheel for us to do the show. I give you a list of people, and you don't bother to even interview one of them. You just go ahead and get someone else. Completely, and after you asked me, I would have a right to be really upset.
But that's apples and oranges, Jack. That's on the same wavelength. I mean, when we bring in a co-host, all right, for instance, He's not a producer. He's not a director. He's not a sales agent. All he is working with us. So you definitely have a say in that. Deshaun Watson isn't working with anybody up there in the GM's office. So I understand what you're saying. If you ask somebody, their opinion, and then and being Deshaun Watson, a star quarterback for your team, and don't follow up, he has every right to be mad. I agree with you.
Houston does not have to trade him. Deshaun Watson has the right to retire. Decide he's not playing next year. He's not going to collect his money, but he has that right not to play. He might think, I just don't want to play next year. I'm not happy here. You can't criticize him for that. If he doesn't play, he's not getting paid then. It's
I'm not
anyone
criticizing
else
that
on a job. You're entitled to basically quit your job if you want.
Sure, definitely.
Get paid, okay?
Definitely.
The Houston has a right to enforce the contract. Or Deshaun Watson can play, try to do his job, but whenever he's at a press conference, he could say, this organization, I'm not happy with them. I think it's a joke the way they do things. It's unprofessional. He's entitled to say that. But that would be a major embarrassment for the Texans.
I agree. He has a right to say anything he wants, Jack. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that he should be involved in upper team management, who they hire and who they.
Well, speaking of another deal to tie this in, Matthew Stafford, after a dozen years or so, is going to be moving on as the quarterback of the Lions. Now they have a new coach, the Lions, Dan Campbell, a new GM. And they sat down with Matthew Stafford in a very civil way, or they Zoomed or whatever, and all parties agreed, let's move on.
Right.
Okay, so it's done very professional and so on. I don't know who the Lions think they're going to get as their quarterback, who's going to be better than Matthew Stafford, but they are going to trade him, probably get a number 1 draft choice at some point, not a very low one. I could have a little eye towards maybe a low one. Maybe New England at number 15 will give that pick.
Let's talk about that for a minute. That did happen. In fact, the coach and GM knew before they took the job that Matt Stafford was pushing on. Matt Stafford came out and said he wanted to push on, which is rare for a Detroit Lion, a great Detroit Lion, believe it or not. So there's 4 teams that is out there that might be very interested in getting Matt Stafford. The Patriots are one of them, Jack.
Yeah.
And you also got the Washington team, the Colts, and the 49ers. Now, each one of those teams are interesting. Washington, of course, had Alex Smith, and he was hurt with that leg injury and got hurt again during the year. He wasn't supposed to even walk again. So that's a tremendous story in itself. But when he played very well. Now, Phillip Rivers is retired from the Colts. He's out of football. Matt Stafford is a similar quarterback, probably with a stronger arm than Rivers. And then the last, if you talk to Anthony Cervino, our fantasy football guru that's coming up with us in a little bit, he's been a huge fantasy quarterback because of his stats. He throws for a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns. The 49ers of Garoppolo, is that coming to the end? He's got 2 years left on his contract. And, of course, as you mentioned, the Patriots are going to be looking for a quarterback. Where do you think he would fit best?
All of them. Like, if you take them one at a time, the Washington football team, how much of future do they have as Alex Smith as the quarterback? You could squeeze another year out of him, and Alex Smith's ceiling only goes so far. Remember Alex Smith when he was the quarterback of the 49ers? Jim Harbaugh replaced him with Colin Kaepernick, even though Alex Smith was playing well, because his ceiling only took you so far. When he was with the Chiefs, he took the Chiefs to the playoffs, but Patrick Mahomes was in waiting. And now with the Washington football team, he signed that big contract, then got injured. And even if if Kyle Allen had been healthy last year for the Skins, hadn't gotten injured, he would have actually been starting ahead of Alex Smith. Ron Rivera is now talking about a quarterback competition with the Washington football team. If Matthew Stafford's there, there's no quarterback competition. The job has to be his. Phillip Rivers retiring at Indianapolis. Frank Reich was Carson Wentz's offensive coordinator with the Eagles. Maybe Carson Wentz goes to the Eagles. We don't know. But then again, the Colt offensive coordinator's name escapes me this moment, just got the Eagle head coaching job.
Right.
So maybe he straightens out Carson Wentz. We don't know, but I'm sick of the Carson Wentz drama.
Me too.
New England seems like a perfect fit. Will Bill Belichick straight out give the number one draft choice for Matthew Stafford? I think he should. Without question, that would be a perfect fit, I think, for Stafford. Going there, the 49ers, I ask, what's the matter with Garoppolo?
I don't know.
Why are people so low on Jimmy Garoppolo? But it appears the 49ers aren't completely sold on him. But whatever team gets Matthew Stafford, consider this. He's not a young quarterback.
I was just going to say that.
Approaching the mid-30s. In this day and age, we see with Aaron Rodgers around 37, 38. I forgot how old. Tom Brady, 43. Quarterbacks can go to the age of 40. So Matthew Stafford, you can get some good years out of him.
Well, they might be interested in him, but would he be interested in those teams? And I think the best team that is ready to go to make a run at the Super Bowl is the Colts. I mean, that team with Phillip Rivers, I mean, they play a very good game, Jack. They're a strong, solid team on both sides of the ball. And Matt Stafford, like I said, it's pretty similar to Phillip Rivers. I mean, Phillip Rivers is the basic, play action pass, drop back passer, same thing as Matt Stafford. And like I said, Matt Stafford probably has a stronger arm. So, I mean, if I was Matt Stafford and all four of those teams came looking for me, I sure would be looking at the Colts.
You don't mention the Carolina Panthers, okay? They're ready to move on from Teddy Bridgewater.
You think?
And the X factors involved, you never know. Maybe the Jets trade Sam Darnold for Matthew Stafford, and the Jets throw in maybe their second-round draft choice if the Lions would do it. You never know. Matthew Stafford is ready to win right now.
That's what I'm saying.
Ready-made.
So he wouldn't want to go to the Jets. That's exactly my point, Jack. Why would Matt Stafford want to go to the Jets? I mean, that's a building in progress. The Patriots have no weapons. Washington, okay.
He's not going to go to an elite team because the elite teams have a quarterback. Look at the Rams. I mean, do the Rams have the chips for Matthew Stafford for him to go there? I mean, they would move on from Jared Goff. That would be a big.
But that's a big contract. They would have to take that contract in Detroit. And like I said, the Colts right now are prime, Jack. That window's open. So if I'm Matt Stafford, I mean, the 49ers, okay, good shot. Washington's solid. The Pats have no weapons but have a solid team. But if I want to go somewhere and start winning right away, if I'm at Stafford, that Colts job looks really good.
Not the Lions expect to be compensated handsomely for Matthew Stafford. You're not going to get a boatload of picks. It's not going to be that type of thing. But they expect decent compensation, and you have to look which team's in a position to give it to them.
Right. That's that. Also,
obviously, a team like the Jets, they're not going to even consider giving their number 2 overall pick for Stafford. That would be insane. But they go again at number 23. You never know. Maybe the 23rd pick. Maybe the Lions really like Sam Darnold a lot. They want to go with a young quarterback. Maybe they're willing to swap quarterback for quarterback and get a pick that's outside of the first round.
True, but again, I think
know what they're thinking.
True, but again, I think Stafford would have a say of where he's going out of the teams interested. So we have an undrafted free agent. I love stories like this, Jack, out of Jacksonville, the running back over there, James Robinson.
Yes. Great year he had
for the Rookie of the Year. And I love it when there's a player that's not even drafted, makes the team, and then makes the starting lineup, and then turns out to be one of the best for your team. Victor Cruz is a great example for the Giants.
Had a few 100-yard-plus games on the ground. He was consistently good for the Jaguars all year. One of their shining lights in an otherwise bad year. Yeah.
So I was looking at the bench players, Jack, for the teams going to the championship this year, and there's some interesting players that might make a play or something that helps their team win. And it starts, of course, at the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, the backup. Now, Holmes did clear protocol for concussion, but he still has that injured toe. And after he got that toe injured before the concussion, he didn't look like Patrick Mahomes. He was throwing the ball low and away and not being accurate.
You mean the Chiefs? You throw me
The
for
Chiefs,
loop. You said 49,
Sorry,
and I'm
the
thinking
Chiefs,
you're
right.
not in the playoffs this year.
That's true. The Chiefs. So
Well, we
Patrick
don't know Mahomes how banged up he really is. I mean,
Yeah.
even if he passes concussion protocol, if his toe is really bad, can he roll out with the same effectiveness?
and plant that foot and throw, which is very important for a quarterback. So you got Chad Henne, who did it there, went in there, did an okay job. So, if something does happen where Mahomes has to come out for a few plays or a quarter, or maybe, God forbid that he's out for the game, Chad Henne is going to have to come through for the Chiefs. So that's one person to look at.
I'm not even sure who would back up for the Bills. I know they drafted Jake Fromm, in the 5th round, the quarterback out of Georgia, but he's been basically a forgotten man.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Josh Allen doesn't have any injuries that we know of, so I wouldn't be worried about that as much as the chance of Mahomes getting hurt or re-injuring that toe. Kansas City running backs, Jack, Daryl Williams,
Hilaire Edwards, he's going to be playing.
And Le'Veon Bell, but they're both questionable. So, Darrell Williams came in last week, and he ran really well for him. So they got a nice running back off the bench if either, Hilaire or Bell, something happens to him where they can't play. So he may be a key contributor, Jack.
Mac, we should know by now when they say questionable, they always play.
Oh, there's no doubt they'll start. No doubt they'll start, just how effective they'll be.
I think they have to submit things because there's injury reports with the league because of betting.
I agree.
And
that's the main reason, Jack.
Open communication.
The second reason is why.
I think they embellish these injuries with the team sometimes. If the guy has a bad pinky, they know he's going to be well. They report it. It's
Tom Brady
was ready to go.
Tom Brady was always questionable when he played with the Pats. In Green Bay, Jack, and I don't remember if you remember the Titans game. They had A.J. Dillon, a veteran running back who's a trainer. He's about 250 pounds, and he ran for over 100 yards against the Titans. That may be something that Green Bay may use to give Jones a rest. So you got Jones, who's an outstanding running back for Green Bay, and then you got A.J. Dillon, who's built sort of like a truck, and he played. He was a good, solid running back when he played for other teams. So he's there coming off the bench if they need him. So that's a few of the players that may have impacts on the game and may make a play, may pick up a first down, may make a tackle. I mean, these are things that when you get to this level and somebody gets hurt and you need to take them out for a little while, you're expecting your bench players who've been with you all year to step in and do a good job and at least maintain the flow. You know what I mean? They don't have to go out there and run for 80 yards and a touchdown.
But with Tampa Bay, Antonio Brown's not going to be playing, and other people are going to have to step up. The elements today are going to play a big part in the Tampa Bay-Green Bay game. At Green Bay, it's going to be pretty cold. And Leonard Fournette, who came from Jacksonville to Tampa Bay, you kind of wonder with the cold weather how he's going to handle it. And I think it comes down to the Tampa Bay secondary in that game. I mean, they're going to have a difficult time with Rodgers, but that's something to talk about maybe late in the show when we have.
I definitely think that's going to be, that's the Packers, with Rodgers and that Tampa Bay secondary, which isn't, first rate. That's going to be a big part of the game, Jack. I don't know. If you're Tampa Bay, your secondary is a little weaker than most, and you're going up against Aaron Rodgers. What are you thinking about going into that game? You got to stop Aaron Jones. You got to stop him. The running game, you've got to stop him because he can run and catch the ball. And
they have a really good front seven, Mac, Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I have confidence they can, do an adequate job against the Green Bay running game.
Okay, so now you got a great seven, but your weakness is the backcourt, if you will. So,
backfield. Now you're a football coach, Mac. Backfield. This ain't backcourt. You're thinking of basketball. You're already transitioning into the next phase of sports. The season's winding down for you.
So you have a backcourt back there with a not that great a defensive backs, Jack. So do you go to a nickel? Do you go to a dime earlier than what you should on the defense, or do you just play your regular game and hope for the best?
Mac, I have no clue, honestly. I know Tampa Bay has a good corner in Carlton Davis. He's at some point they're going to put him on Devontae Adams, and he's going to have to get the job done. It's that simple. We could talk about all the different formations.
You can't do that, Jack.
Sometimes you have to hope one of your corners really comes up big, that he's motivated.
You, Jack, if you put anybody one-on-one with Adams, you're going to lose.
No, he's going to have some help, but he's going to be the primary guy.
Definitely.
He's going to have to make life very difficult for Adams.
Yeah, I mean,
but you know what it is too? Aaron Rodgers, such a great quarterback, such great anticipation. They're going to blitz him at various times, but historically the blitz doesn't work that well against Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, on given plays, you could force him to release the ball too early. And I think with Tampa Bay, it just comes down to their secondary, how they're going to perform. You could talk about cold weather, how important the running game is in cold weather, but this game's going to be won and lost through the air when all is said and done.
Jack, I think it's going to be won and lost on defense. I really do. How you slow down the other team, because Brady's going to come out. Brady's going to do what Brady does is as Tampa Bay slowly turns into the New England Patriot offense of old, with his timing patterns and stuff like that, and take that shot downfield once in a while. He's not going to throw like Winston did last year and throw downfield all the time. So it's slowly molding into Brady's Patriots offense from their Super Bowl years. So you're going to have to be able to either two things, Jack. You're not going to be able to blitz Rodgers because he's going to burn you. You can't blitz Rodgers. You can blitz Brady if you get up in front of him in his face. You can blitz him and put pressure on him. Yeah. Rodgers will roll out. Brady can't really roll out like Rodgers can. So you're going to have to keep Rodgers contained. So the strategy going in here with the defensive coaches, Jack, is going to be very important. I mean, if you do decide to go one-on-one with somebody, I think in either case, you're going to lose. You're going to have to roll to one side or another. With Antonio Brown out, you're going to have to look at Evans, because Evans is going to be his main guy downfield like he was before Brown got there. So it's going to be very important that the defense, the strategy against these two veteran, great Hall of Fame quarterbacks, we're going to see who wins out in strategy. I think that's what's going to win the game, Jack.
Well, with Tampa Bay, Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette in the backcourt, they're going to have a big game for Tampa Bay to win. Brady's going to mix it up. He's going to dink and dunk, and he's going to complete a number of conservative passes, move the chains, and it's an intriguing game. But I think Aaron Rodgers, this is a magical year for him.
Yeah.
You didn't get. They were 13-3 last year as well, but you had the feeling last year when they played the 49ers. The 49ers were just point blank a better team than the Packers. I don't get that feeling with the Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers have basically maximized their talent the last few weeks. I know they only had an 11-5 record, but they got to know one another. They finally got to gel. But I have more faith. I have tremendous faith in Aaron Rodgers, in this game. Sometimes you get a feeling with a team, this is their time. They're just not going to be denied. And it's been quite a while since Aaron Rodgers has went to a Super Bowl. And I just feel, that the time is here for that.
You could be right, Jack. You could be. Backstage right now, folks, we have Anthony Cervino from Fantasy Football Face-Off.
The man who picked the Buccaneers to win it all.
Yes, he did. And if you get a shot, folks, go check him out. Check him out on Twitter at the NFL Guru. He does a great show, a great site where not only does he give his expert picks and best plays, but they break down the games, they break down football, and they do a great job. So let's bring Anthony on. How you doing today, Anthony?
Doing great, guys. How are you?
We're hanging in there. I mean, we're kind of getting excited for today's games, Anthony. I mean, I think both games are going to be outstanding, really. I think both games could come down to the wire. There's a lot of different things happening. But before we get to all that, and we're definitely going to talk to you about that for quite a while, I want to get to your best picks, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to recap last week's games because those were some good games too.
Yeah, well, let's get the fantasy stuff out of the way. There's only 4 teams left standing, so the player pool's really dwindled. You really can't go wrong with any quarterback here, but I find myself taking Tom Brady's actually the least expensive quarterback, and he's been one of the hotter quarterbacks. I don't really worry about the cold weather or snow. Tom Brady has played in New England for a very long time. So I actually like a Tom Brady in that game. A cheap wide receiver play is Scotty Miller with Antonio Brown out. Leonard Fournette's back-to-back games with over 100 total yards and a touchdown. So I like a lot of Tampa's weapons. And really, in Green Bay, for me, it's Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, and Aaron Jones. I'm really not going to shy away from those 3 main guys. And then over in the AFC, I like Patrick Mahomes more than I like Josh Allen. The matchup is better. I trust Patrick Mahomes in this spot a lot more, especially at home. Buffalo's offense, they struggled last week against the Ravens. And as good as the Ravens defense is, we've seen teams like the Browns a few weeks ago put 40 on them. And all of a sudden, this Buffalo offense, they have no running game. They have, a couple of really good receivers, but I have a feeling today that Buffalo's going to have a very, very hard time. And I might be wrong.
Right. So
no, Anthony, coaches talk about not making mistakes, and you make a good point. It's hard to imagine Patrick Mahomes making more mistakes than Josh Allen in a game like this.
Yeah, and in the past, Josh Allen was always the quarterback who you worried about turning the football over, and he's really did a good job cleaning that up this year. But Patrick Mahomes, he's almost in that conversation with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, not all time, but in terms of not giving the football away. And that's going to be key in both of these games. You said that they both can be one-possession games. That's how I see it falling out.
Yeah, I do. I really do. So last week, and probably the most, I don't want to say surprising because it's not surprising. It's the rule. I'm surprised the rule still exists. We have the Chiefs and we have the Browns. The Browns gave them everything they could handle. The play where the receiver is stretching to get that touchdown, he gets hit. The ball goes through the back of the end zone, and they give the ball to the other team. I know why they got this rule. That goes all the way back to Dave Casper when he pushed the ball into the end zone, and they recovered it, and it became a touchdown. So they wanted to fix that, and they slowly modified that rule as they went along. And Anthony, if you fumble the ball out of bounds, if somebody hits you and you fumble the ball out of bounds, they don't give it to the other team. No. It makes no sense to me at all. I mean, if you want to put that team back on their own at the 20-yard line, okay, fine. They penalize him for that. But when a guy is going for the end zone and he gets hit, he didn't do it on purpose. To give it to the other team is a travesty.
Every year in the postseason, when a team loses, somebody is calling for a rule to be changed. The rules are the rules. And changing the rule now is not going to give the Browns the football with a chance to win.
Agreed.
My bigger issue is the Sorensen hit that people want to fight. To me, that's a football play.
Right. Oh, I agree with that.
You got to let these guys play football. I
agree with that too. But all I'm saying is we don't want certain rules, and I'm totally against the defensive pass interference rule too, where you give the guy the infraction on the place of the ball. It's you're 3rd and 20, and then you throw a Hail Mary and you get hit at the 1 yard line and you get 1st and goal. I think those two rules change the complexion and the score of the game. And if that's what the rule does, I don't think you should have it. You want to penalize them, fine. But don't give the ball to the other team, or don't give the ball to the other team on the 1 yard line when you're definitely out of the game. That makes no sense in football.
But the pass interference rule, that's been around forever, right?
Right. For a while, yeah.
I'm used to it. I don't like change.
Yeah.
I miss the old overtime, the sudden death.
Right,
I wish we can go back to that.
But what I'm saying, Anthony, is it used to be, now this is going way back, you had a 15-yard penalty for pass interference. They changed that because people would grab people and they'd rather give up 15 yards, right? But to penalize another team and put them 1st and goal to get a touchdown when it was 3rd and 30 makes no sense either. They have to find some kind of happy medium there where you're not affecting the outcome of the game. Because now you're putting the game in the referee's hands, and that's not where it belongs. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
I
the
get
bigger
it.
controversy in that play, that was a helmet-to-helmet hit that
That's
the
what-
officials missed. That's what I would be talking about, how that could be missed, especially with replay. Okay, so there should have been a flag on the play, meaning Cleveland should have kept the ball, and they probably would have scored, and who knows how the game would have then played out.
Yeah, I mean, nothing it seems to be foolproof. No matter how many chances you give the referees, it's still human error. It's still going to come down to human error.
I agree with that too. Anthony, so another big thing taken away from that game, of course, Patrick Mahomes is playing. He cleared concussion protocol, but he did get that injured toe. And after he had that injured toe, he didn't look much like Patrick Mahomes. He was underthrowing people. He couldn't plant his foot and throw. He couldn't roll out. Do you think that's going to be a big factor? If somebody hits his foot again, is that going to be it for the Chiefs?
I don't know, because look how the Chiefs played, and it was the Browns, but Andy Reid was still calling very aggressive plays with Chad Henne in the game, and I think he believes in Chad Henne. Let's say if the Chiefs get off to a 2-score lead and Patrick Mahomes goes out, I still think the Chiefs have a good shot at winning the football game.
Really?
We know Chad Henne could preserve a victory, but let's say the game is 3-3 early in the second quarter, and out goes Patrick Mahomes for the game. Can the Chiefs win with Chad Henne going the rest of the way, having to win the game and not preserve the game?
I think Chad Henne, for that to happen, he would have to have the game of his life.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. So the other game was, of course, Tampa Bay against New Orleans. Another good game. Drew Brees just doesn't look like Drew Brees. I mean, he had a good game. I wasn't overly impressed with Tampa Bay. We have, Antonio Brown got hurt. He won't be playing today. But it looks like to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, Anthony, we have the New England Patriots Super Bowl offense running right now instead of the Tampa Bay offense throwing the ball all over the place. Is that, are my eyes deceiving me?
Since that, Tampa Bay had their bye in week 13. It was the last week of bye weeks. And usually teams go into a bye and make adjustments. And I think that was the issue, because Tampa, they looked good early. They kind of struggled in the middle of the year. They hit the bye week, and all of a sudden they come out, and Tom Brady looks like Tom Brady again. And I think we're seeing more of a mixture of what Tom does best with Bruce Arians does best, and it's working.
Yeah, I agree with that too. So let's get to today's games. I probably got them totally different than you, but Green Bay did beat up the Rams. I think Aaron Rodgers, as Jack said, is maybe this is his year. He does have to win another Super Bowl. I know his records are going to be great. His yards are going to be great. So was Dan Marino's, and so were some others. But I think he needs to get in the Super Bowl to be in that discussion with Brady, to be in the discussion with some of the great Super Bowl, Montana, people like that. So I like Green Bay's running game. I think that Aaron Rodgers can pass off Aaron Jones. Tampa Bay has a great 7, has a weaker defensive backfield. They're going to have to stop Aaron Jones, that front 7. Do you think, and I feel this way, that Tampa Bay is going to have to give that defensive backfield some help this game? They're either going to have to put extra defensive back in there, or roll the coverage as much as they can towards Adams and keep him from making that big play.
This Tampa Bay defense, these two teams played in week 6, and Tampa Bay won 38-10. I think that game was played in Tampa. And if you look at the box score, Aaron Jones couldn't run the football. And when that front 7 shut him down, Aaron Rodgers, that was one of the only games he did not throw a touchdown pass. Obviously Devontae Adams did not catch a touchdown pass. So this is going to be big, this Tampa Bay defense stopping Aaron Jones. That is the key to the game. If you make it one-dimensional for Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he has the weapons. Now, he threw 48 touchdowns, but when you have Green Bay was ranked fifth in fifth in total yards, ninth in passing yards, and eighth in rushing yards per game. When you have that balance, you can do whatever you want. But if you take the running game element away, all of a sudden your secondary, all you're really featuring on it is Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. But when the running game gets going, all of a sudden those lesser known supporting weapons that Aaron has, they can get going. So if it's one-dimensional, I actually could see this offense finally starting to struggle.
I don't think the first game should be considered a factor at all. It was long ago, and you just have to look at Tampa Bay's second game against New Orleans as an example in which Tampa Bay was absolutely dreadful. Tampa Bay has an excellent front seven. If they don't play a particularly good game, I mean, is Tampa Bay really in trouble because their secondary is so-so?
Yeah, I think they are going to be in trouble. But on the other side, this Tampa Bay offense, even without Antonio Brown, they're really clicking. They have depth. I mean, last week, Cameron Brate, who opened the year as the number 3 tight end, he was second on Tampa Bay in receiving. I think Leonard Fournette might have been number 1. There's weapons all over the place for Tom Brady to go to, and I think it's going to be a handful for the Green Bay Packers to stop.
What about the weather, Anthony? How much a factor, if at all, is that going to be? It's supposed to be cold in Green Bay, not outrageously cold. From last I heard, it's going to be in the low 20s as a high.
I'm not sure. Weather's not going to affect either quarterback. It maybe weather affects some of the players on Tampa Bay because they play in Florida. Yeah. But these are football players. Like outside of Lamar, like when you talk about snow, outside of Lamar Jackson, I would say 95% of the league has played in snow.
Yeah. You know, Anthony, there's one other thing I want to talk about that matchup. Now, Tom Brady, to beat Tom Brady, you got to get him off his mark. You got to get in his face. You got to get some pressure up the middle on him. Aaron Rodgers, you can't do that with because he's going to roll out and he's going to burn you. So you got to kind of contain him. You got to kind of sack him from outside in as rather than inside out. So I feel that the advantage that Aaron Rodgers has over Brady, and it's not a very big advantage for that because Brady can't move in the pocket. I think the big advantage he has is when he's blitzed because not only can he make the reads as Tom Brady can, but he can roll outside that. And it's important, I think, that Tampa Bay contains him inside the pocket, sacking him from the outside in. And Brady, they got to get pressure up the middle on it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. Tampa Bay was 4th in the NFL in terms of sacks. They had 48 on the year, and Green Bay they had 41. Not a big difference there. Even in terms of sacks allowed, both of these teams are really good. They protect their quarterbacks well. I think Green Bay was the least sacked team. I'm trying to pull that up now. Green Bay was one of the least sacked team, and even Tom Brady was upright for a lot of the year. So it does come. It's a matter of which defensive coordinator is going to dial up the right scheme to get to these quarterbacks.
I definitely
agree. There's not a real weakness with in this matchup. Like I can't say, okay, well, this team is good here, this team is bad there, and they can exploit that. They're really evenly matched.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a dynamite game, Anthony. So the other game we got Buffalo against KC. I think Buffalo can beat Kansas City because of Kansas City's defense. The Bills look like now, this is against Lamar Jackson. And me and you kind of agree on Lamar Jackson that maybe he can't bring them to the Super Bowl as he currently quarterbacks. They got to do something with improving his passing game. They have to. But the Bills defense sold out against Lamar Jackson and him running. They said, you're not going to beat us with the run and beat us with the pass, which he couldn't do. The wind was terrible up there. It was hard to throw. I understand that. Josh Allen didn't even have that good of a game. But I think that the Buffalo Bills with the passing game they have, can match up with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think their defenses are pretty much even. Not that Kansas City has a bad defense. They have a good defense. But I think that if anybody could have beat the Bills, and I said this way back when the playoffs first started, Anthony, that it was the Buffalo Bills, because I think they can match up score for score if they have to. And I think their defenses are pretty much comparable.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And this is another one, like I said, about the NFC game. Both of these teams match up really well. They're excellent at passing the football. They both don't really run well. And their defenses, when they need to, they can show up and make plays. But when it comes to the running game, the Chiefs, they will commit to the run. Last week, without Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell's not even a factor, Darrell Williams had right around 13 carries, went over 70 yards.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills in 2 playoff games, collectively, with all of their running backs, had 19 carries for fewer yards, for a couple of yards short. So Buffalo can't run the football. Well, Zach Moss is out. He wasn't a big factor anyway. Devin Singletary, he's not the guy. Their running back for next year is not on the roster right now. And I think that could be an issue because the weakness on Kansas City's defense, you can run on them. And the fact that Buffalo, they don't even try. Devin Singletary had 7 carries last week. I think the lack of balance or the lack of even trying to make balance is going to be an issue for Buffalo.
Josh Allen's going to have to beat them in the air, and that's where he tends to make mistakes if he can't balance it out with the running game. And I agree, Singletary would be a backup on some other playoff teams.
Oh, absolutely.
And yet he's the featured back for the Bills.
Well, there's one running back you guys are forgetting about, and that's Josh Allen. So, I mean, if Josh Allen, I guarantee you, both you guys, that there will be some design running plays for Josh Allen today. I can almost guarantee that.
You know, I think the key to the game for Kansas City is on the defensive side of the ball, and it's somebody who can match up with Josh Allen and follow him, and that's Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu, he's a hybrid player, incredible athlete. You know, we've seen him minimize Lamar Jackson and his running ability. I think Tyrann Mathieu is going to have a game-changing play to put Kansas City over the top, whether it's a fumble or interception or a sack. I could see another big game from Tyrann Mathieu.
And you know something, that's another great point. I didn't even think about that. He is an outstanding, very fast, very physical guy. So I guess you could try to shadow Allen. I don't know if it will work or not, but you know, that's going to be something that we're going to have to watch. So Anthony, after this, I know you do a year-round show basically. We'll be having our big football show in a couple of weeks. We'll have you on same time slot. I'm going to be having a lot of guests on that day, so it might be a shorter slot, but we'll definitely get your opinions and your thoughts on the matchups for the Super Bowl. And I imagine you're picking. It seems to me the way you're talking, you're going to be thinking it's the KC Tampa Bay Super Bowl.
Yep, that's exactly the way I'm going.
Well, Anthony, you picked Tampa Bay to win it all in the beginning of the year.
So
that was my Super Bowl matchup from the get-go.
I picked KC, but it didn't take much thought. Most people did, but Tampa Bay was a bold pick.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I took the Giants and the Jaguars, so you know how much do I know? I'm just kidding.
What's going on after Matthew Stafford? Where do you see a good destination for him?
I think right now the early talks are San Francisco, that they could be in the running for Matthew Stafford. Isn't he? I think Stafford might be from the Santa Clara area. I'm not sure, but it seems to match up for a team like the 49ers. They're built to win right now, and Matthew Stafford, I would say he would be an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo.
But the Lions aren't just going to give him away. They're going to have to get compensated to their satisfaction. That's why I'm thinking New England with the number 15 overall pick in the first round might be a nice destination.
Yeah, but does Bill Belichick want to give that pickup where he can go get maybe one of these younger quarterbacks who's going to be there for a lot longer than Matthew Stafford maybe?
And not only that, guys, Matt Stafford is going to have a say on where he goes, right. I would imagine. Yeah. And I think Anthony, look, and this is my prediction, watch him be the quarterback of the Colts next year. So with Phillip Rivers retiring, that would be a perfect fit for him.
And they have the cap space.
And Deshaun Watson, quickly, how do you think this plays out?
I think he winds up in the AFC East, either Miami or New York.
Wow. Heck of a prediction. Yeah. Again, folks, check out Anthony Cervino at Fantasy Football Face Off. It's a heck of a show. It's professional. It looks great. And they talk about a lot of great stuff over there besides fantasy football, which they're great at. But, I mean, if you want to get some football information and some great analogies and commentary, go check them out. Thanks again, Anthony, for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Good luck today, guys.
Take care.
Thanks a lot. So there you go, Jack. Our fantasy football expert Anthony Cervino, enlightening us not only in fantasy, but just in overall matchups and his
Well,
commentary.
I sometimes, Mac, like to look at Super Bowl matchups when we have 4 teams left. And if it's Green Bay and Kansas City, that was the very first Super Bowl ever played.
Very,
Green Bay,
very.
Buffalo never took place before. Buffalo, Tampa Bay never took place before. But Green Bay, Kansas City, if they do play, there'll be a lot of nostalgia about Super Bowl I when people are going to be talking about that game.
I definitely agree with that, Jack. And what we're going to do with that, we have Robert Butler from Sportscope coming up after this, folks. We're going to do our quick official timeout. We'll be back in a few minutes, but stick with us because Robert Butler is dynamite, and we'll see you right after these messages, folks.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Info Line. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be the perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on live Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. We start off your mornings. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, the great Jack Hirsch, who, he's a very knowledgeable man. He's not.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a great thing, isn't it? It's a great start.
Spirit of the show.
It really does. It adds a little pizzazz to it. So, folks, we just had Anthony Cervino, our fantasy football expert, on, and he broke down the games a little bit with us. And coming up next, right backstage right now, waiting patiently as I scroll through my banners to bring his name up, we have Robert Butler, of the host of Sports Scope, a really great site, guys. Go check him out. He has a lot of great information, a lot of great sports talk. So let's bring up and add Robert to the show. How you doing today,
Hey,
Robert?
morning, guys.
How are we
How are
doing?
you?
Looking good and sharp today, as always, Robert.
Thanks, man.
No
you
problem.
dressed for this show specially or what?
No, that's
every show, man.
That's Robert. Robert always is looking sharp, so that helps the mind too. I think Robert sometimes.
Yeah.
You just your
Paul
mind.
Harvey said that, Jack.
Yes.
He
And as you
did a radio show back when they didn't have no TV with the radio combined.
Paul, Paul Horning?
Paul Harvey, radio guy. Yeah.
The man made a mint out of going on shows with his on different networks, and he was a very smart man. He would come on and say page 2 or page 3. I remember I've listened to him a few times, and he was very, very entertaining and very knowledgeable. A little bit like you, Robert. So here we go.
A little bit.
So we're gonna get into it with you, and we're gonna start off with some topics. I want to get your thoughts on the championships later, championship games. But I want to get your thoughts a little bit. Just turn away from football for a brief second. A legend passed away, Hank Aaron, a couple days ago. We had a big show on him. We did a big segment on him. To me, really the true home run king. I mean, without PEDs, was an unbelievable ball player all around. I think he's up there in the top 4, top 5 of all time, in my opinion, anyway. What are your thoughts about Hank Aaron and his legacy, Robert?
Yeah. I mean, he was obviously before my time, but I tried to study the greats and everything, especially for the sport, and he was a model of consistency year in and year out. Always hit the same amount of home runs. I was looking at these stats, and I didn't think that it was this close between him and Bonds. Hank Aaron, 755 to 762. I mean, we know what the year that Barry Bonds had in 2001, and with his deformity, looking when his body getting so much bigger. I don't know about the issue with the Hall of Fame, but Hank Aaron, week in and week out, year in and year out. You think about the longevity and the travel in baseball, and that's all we ask for in any sport is a guy to be consistent. We don't want you to be up and down, up and down. So he's definitely the home run. It's hard to really argue with that longevity like that.
I want to mention something because we are going to talk about football in regard to Hank Aaron with football. I watched the interview with Bob Costas yesterday. I think I mentioned something about this on the show, but I got a big kick out of him saying he was an avid Cleveland Brown fan. He would fly to the Brown games in the morning because Hank Aaron was friends with Ozzie Newsome when he was with the Browns. And Hank Aaron would sit in the dog pound in disguise. He said until one day someone noticed him and said, "You're Hank Aaron." And he denied being Hank Aaron. And the guy said, "Yes, you are." And he said that ruined it. And Bob Costa said, "But you could have sat in the owner's box." And Hank Aaron said, "No, but I wanted to sit with the fans. That's where it would be more fun." Just the idea he'd get in disguise, go to a game, and and just be whooping it up with the fans, and they'd have no. And can you imagine how many games he went to? And little did they know they had Hank Aaron with him. The guy next to him wouldn't have even known he had Hank Aaron next to him, who he's joking around with, at the games.
Archie Manning used to do that. His was over the top. He would sit in disguise with the fans to watch Peyton when he went to school at Tennessee. He didn't want to make it about him, but he really wanted to sit with the fans and see. I mean, his disguises were over the top. It looked like the little thing with the glasses on it, the jokester disguises. And it was almost embarrassing to see him.
Well, how would Archie deal with that if someone yells out, "Peyton sucks"? You know what I mean?
I'm sure you heard it a
You're
couple of times since he lost to
You know
Florida
what?
every year. I've said it a couple of times back when I was a kid.
Oh man,
he was overrated till he won a Super Bowl in my book, but now he is.
There you go. There you go. So let's take a look at the games coming up, and I want to get your opinion on the best, because it's all about matchups when you get in big games like this, Robert. Right? I mean, we know that all four quarterbacks are very good in these championships. There's no denying it this year. They're all played out of their minds. But there's going to be certain things for that team to win besides the quarterbacks, because the quarterback is dependent on a lot of things in football. He's not a pitcher that goes out there and can strike out the side every time he gets out there. He needs the offensive line. He needs the running game. He needs the defense. He needs the special teams to put him in positions to win. So, in your opinion, Robert, who has the best running game left here in these championship games?
Best running game, I would have to say that it's probably going to be Green Bay. You look at the running game during the regular season. You look at their running game last week against the Rams. Now, typically teams run the ball better off of a bye week. I get it. Fresh leg running backs. But you look at the regular season rankings, really high rushing the football, really good offensive line, best running game. Now, with Vita back, may be tough there to get anything in the middle against Tampa Bay, but I'll have to give that check to the Green Bay.
I disagree. I think Ronald Jones is one of the most underrated players in the NFL, and you team him with Leonard Fournette. I mean, I give an edge to Tampa Bay there.
Well, listen,
in this particular game, yes, but best running game overall, I'll have to say that probably Green Bay.
Robert, I agree with you. And not only do they have Aaron Jones, they got a pretty good backup there that ran unbelievable against Tennessee. I think you know who I'm talking about.
A.J. Dillon.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And he's a 250-pound bruiser veteran.
And Williams can catch the ball pretty well out of the backfield.
That's true.
And that's the other back. Yeah.
Yes, and I do agree that overall, and maybe even in a matchup, I think that Green Bay has a better running game over with their talent there as opposed to Tampa Bay. But now we go to the best defense.
Yeah.
Buffalo played a great game last week. I mean, they put the brakes on Lamar, and of course Green Bay's defense is starting to gel together. Mm-hmm. Tampa Bay has a great front seven, right?
Yeah.
So and Kansas City is a solid defense. They're not a joke. So in your opinion, who has the best defense left?
Well, the other teams, like for instance, Green Bay has a pretty good pass rush, but I'd say probably Tampa with the best pass rush and run defense. But if you look at like Buffalo, they played well, little weak in the middle. That's why I thought that Baltimore may beat them. The tight end usually has a pretty good game, little undersized up front. You can run on Buffalo, but believe it or not, guys, no glaring weakness. Kansas City has been one of the most overlooked defenses out of all the four teams. Somebody that scouts this for daily fantasy, very strong at the cornerback position. Honey Badger, very underrated. That's the guy plays safety for them. I forgot his name. His nickname's Honey Badger, come out of LSU. You got Frank Clark, Chris Jones, real good, very fundamentally tackles. Remember, this team's played a lot of big leads in the second quarter, and they've had to adjust their defense, but they don't have any glaring weakness. My answer is Kansas City. More Pro Bowlers, probably Tampa, but Kansas City, because you guys know if you block Tampa up front, pretty weak on the back end.
You know, no one is talking about this in the Kansas City-Cleveland game because they talk about Henne's near first down on the run and then Andy Reid surprising everyone for going for it on fourth down and getting the first down to ice the game. But on the possession before Kansas City got the ball, their defense held Cleveland and forced them to punt in a big spot, okay? Cleveland was hoping to get the ball back and stop Kansas City. They didn't. But the bottom line is Kansas City's defense held Cleveland in their last actual possession.
Wasn't it 3 points at halftime? I mean, I thought Cleveland would go in there red hot, great offensive line, all the tight ends you can think of, excellent slot receiver
Well, how about
Landry.
at the end of the game?
Yeah. Well, at the end of the game, I'm saying, but their defense played way better. They've been so overlooked because the offense has played so well.
You know, I think of franchises where the players might – the worst thing a player could do this late in the year is get too satisfied. But it's human nature, if you've exceeded expectations, to maybe think, well, we have nothing to lose. Once you think you have nothing to lose, you're going to lose. You'll lose.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think of both these games, I mean, Green Bay absolutely has to win. If Green Bay loses, forget about them going 13-3 and having won a playoff game. The year's going to be a disappointment to them to come this far and not make the Super Bowl. Again, a big disappointment. The Tampa Bay, they could say it's a good year no matter what happened. They won 11-5. It's the first time they've been in the playoffs this far in ages. So they, in a certain sense, may have exceeded expectations a little. The same with Buffalo and Kansas City. If Kansas City loses, let's face it, the year's a disappointment. They didn't get back to the Super Bowl, defend their title. But for Buffalo, they can say this is a great year no matter what. So you kind of wonder subconsciously whether that goes into the players' way of thinking to take a little pressure off themselves. Are the Bills players saying, well, we have nothing to lose, you know, so we're going to let it rip. Because once you say you have nothing to lose, you're halfway to losing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and Green Bay is a little soft in the middle against the run. They gave up 90 yards to Cam Akers. Now, Fournette's going to be a big part of their game plan. They could go up there and beat Green Bay with Vita back, and maybe they don't make that. I think they do make the adjustment to Todd Bowles' blitz scheme. But if they do not make that adjustment, remember, that was a 38-10 game. I don't think it'll be that bad. But Leonard Fournette's running the ball really well. Probably had the best day rushing the ball probably this set of games. And, you know, hey, Brady get hot. He uses his off receivers, uses Cameron Brate, Scotty Miller. They're the two healthiest. I know Brown's going to be out. Godwin and Evans will play, but they're a little banged up. I could see them winning this game. Ryan Succop's a really good kicker. Brady's played in cold weather environments before. I mean, I like Green Bay because the comfort level. They've been there last year. They know what they're doing, and everybody else for Tampa hasn't. But, you know, I'm a little worried about that game because everybody's leaning Green Bay, and Tampa's going to go up there and play loose with Tom Brady, who's, I mean, really.
Yeah, Robert,
Robert,
and to follow up on that when Jack says, well, you have nothing to lose. So maybe that is in your subconscious. You had a good year, but the pressure on Kansas City to repeat could work against them as well as it could work against Green Bay. So, you know, you're expected Tampa Bay when they got all those players in Brady and they brought in Gronk and they bring in Fournette and, you know, they got Jones there, who's as exciting running back as there is in football when he gets going. I mean, the pressure on Green Bay right now, because and this is going to segue right into our next thought. You know, Aaron Rodgers is no question one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I don't care if you don't agree with that, you don't know nothing about football.
Yeah.
But to be in the class of a Joe Montana, to be in the class of a Brady, to be in the class of some of these quarterbacks that not only have the stats but have won more than one Super Bowl, does Aaron Rodgers have to win a Super Bowl to be in that class?
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys noticed this. I read this stat this morning. No other quarterback has lost 3 straight conference championship games. He's lost to Atlanta a few years back, and then he lost last year to San Francisco. So, yeah, the pressure's starting to mount when it comes to that. He won't ever say it publicly, but I think in the back of his mind, the pressure is starting to mount. But, you know, you're right. The guy has the highest QBR rating of all time. I looked that up. But I also looked up this, and this is something to think about. Since 2008, since he was drafted, or first year starting, I think, 3 top 10 defenses. Brady's had 11 top 10 defenses. A lot of those defenses since 2008 have been in the top 5 for Brady.
Yeah.
And remember, they've won every Super Bowl other than one by a field goal. So he could potentially be 1-8.
Yeah, Adam
I mean,
Vinatieri.
I can never understand the mentality. People are saying, well, it's Brady against Rodgers. They're not going to be on the field at the same time.
Neither play defense.
Rodgers against the Tampa Bay
Right.
defense. Brady against the Green Bay offense. If anything, it's quarterback against the opposing coach.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning never went against Tom Brady. Peyton Manning went against Bill Belichick and the New England defense. Okay? I don't understand people talk about these head-to-head matchups. This isn't basketball where you know, on the court at the same time, you know, squaring off against an opponent.
Very true.
Right. And Peyton Manning's defense, the last Super Bowl, I mean, he was a shell of himself. He was a game manager. I think he had 2 turnovers in that Super Bowl.
Let me ask you this. The Tampa Bay manhandled Green Bay when they played earlier this year.
Yeah.
Kansas City had a little more difficulty with Buffalo, but they got the job done. Do those games mean anything at all, especially the Green Bay-Tampa Bay game? Does it give Tampa Bay a little more added confidence and maybe put a little more doubt in Green Bay's mind? Is it completely irrelevant at this time of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think it gives them plenty, especially, you know, they lost 2 straight games by 11 points and 35 to New Orleans. Now, of course, those 3 turnovers by Breeze.
No, I'm
so
not.
That helped them get over that.
Game earlier this year.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's a confidence builder. They're playing on house money. They've got a good run defense. They're going to have the better run game in this game. So they've got a good shot to win this game. And Brady, somebody said this, one of his teammates said this about Brady. And he said, this guy gives us a confidence we can win every one of these games. And I thought, who else said that? Steve Kerr said that about Michael Jordan. I've never been around a guy that just, even though we second-guessed ourselves sometimes, he had so much confidence. It lifted the whole team up. And I do think, I know football's different, but when you see that body language, every single play in these big playoff games where it could come down to a handful of plays, that really helps. Tampa could very well go up there and beat them. I mean, I know it was a 3-point spread, and that's usually you give that to the home team in a playoff situation. So maybe this would be an even matchup in a neutral field. That's something to think about. Now, you know, the bettors have went with Green Bay and it's kind of pushed it up to 3.5.
Right. Now, let's get to the head coaches because Jack did bring it up about Bill Belichick against Peyton Manning. So we have, you know, 4 coaches in here. One, Andy Reeves, Andy, oh my God,
Reed, yeah.
Andy Reid, who's been there before, lost one, has now won one. He knows how to run a team. He's going to be. He's been there, like I said. And he has experience over, you know, the Tampa Bay head coach, who is a good coach. I'm not going to take nothing away from him. And then you got over. You know, you got Buffalo's head coach. This is his first time there.
Yeah.
You know, and you got Green Bay's head coach. Even though, you know, he is a good coach, this is also his first time.
LaFleur, yeah.
Yeah, this is his first time there. Even though he's been on some teams that have been there, it's a different.
Well, they were there last year,
right?
They got blown out.
But I mean, exactly. Go and have a chance, and they were there last year. You're 100% correct. Yeah. And they didn't fare too well. So if you're going to look at all the head coaches, Robert, who do you think has the edge coming in there? And not just because of experience with Andy Reid, but who do you think right now has the best hold of their team? That their team is on such a ride here that has such momentum that everything is clicking at the same time.
Well, I mean, you got to look at Andy Reid. I mean, these guys, even throughout the year and throughout the last few years, they've been up big in games. They've had to come back in games. They came back and almost got to the Super Bowl 2 years ago against the Patriots. So they're never really out of it. They make good second half adjustments. I was watching a replay the other day of the Patriots and the Chiefs a few years ago in that championship game. And the Patriots are all over them the first half, and they came back and almost won that game. So I can see him adjusting the play schemes, even if that turf toe, by the way, it's came out that Mahomes has, is an issue. I could see him out scheme. So he's definitely got the advantage coming in and adjusting. And second, that's a good call right there. I'm not sure. Maybe LaFleur, because he was there last year.
Guys, how easy you guys forget, how quickly you forget, both of you. 1 year ago, what were they saying about Andy Reid? They questioned whether he could win the big one. He'd never taken the next step. He went to one Super Bowl with the Eagles, which they didn't win. Year after year, they would get eliminated in the playoffs and so on. And Andy Reid was doubted. He was very much doubted. So he finally wins the Super Bowl. And now we're hailing him as being an all-time great coach. Come on. I mean, let's think of his body of work outside of last year. Speaking of that game you just mentioned, Rob, the year before that, the Chiefs lost to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. People were questioning Andy Reid's, decisions in that game. So I don't want to hear, wow, what a big edge that Andy Reid has over the Bill coach Sean McDermott, because Andy Reid, has all this experience, this and that. He's got Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. That's going to make any coach look a lot smarter. Andy Reid is a good coach, a good coach, because he always had the Eagles in the mix year after year, and that's the sign of a good coach. I'm not knocking him, but I don't want to hear he has a big edge there. Sean McDermott, this is the third year in a row he has his team in the playoffs. So it's not like an inexperienced coach like when McVay coached against Belichick, a couple of years ago in the Super Bowl. That gave the Patriots an admitted edge over the Rams. And in the other game, Matt LaFleur, Bruce Arians, how do you give anyone a real edge there? Okay? Tampa Bay reminds me of a dysfunctional team. Dysfunctional, but in a good way. There's dysfunctional talent all over that team. Can they gel? If chemistry is not talked about in football the way it is in basketball, but something about this Tampa Bay team, you wonder how the chemistry is going to be. If it's good, they're going to be tough to beat.
Well, that's the whole point. That's the whole point, Jack. The head coach is responsible for the chemistry as a head coach. You got to have that chemistry between the coaching staff, the players, the people who are on the staff of the team. So who's more responsible than that, Jack?
Well, Tom Brady basically put the team together. Had Jameis Winston not thrown those pick sixes at the end of last year, and instead of them going 7-9, they went 9-7. Jameis Winston would probably still be the quarterback, but all those pieces that came to Tampa Bay that Tom Brady insisted on getting wouldn't be on Tampa Bay right now. So I don't want to say Tom Brady runs the team, because Bruce Arians obviously coaches it. And Tom Brady probably has a better relationship with Bruce Arians and Brian Leftwich, the offensive coordinator, than people realize. But Tom Brady, let's face it, he's the guy. They try to accommodate him as much as they can. And I think the same situation now at Green Bay. They ticked Aaron Rodgers off. And now they know they better accommodate Aaron Rodgers, whatever he wants. They have kind of that power there. I think in Buffalo it's different. Sean McDermott, he's clearly the boss there. Josh Allen, a young quarterback, is going to follow. And I think Patrick Mahomes just has a great relationship with Andy Reid and the offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, if you guys want to look at the top four, though, the coaches, look at how the teams around the league who have trouble running the ball in the end zone, in the red zone, some of the formations where they're snapping the ball directly to the running back, where they're snapping the ball to a tight end on the 2 or 3 to 5 yard line, where they got all these players doing all this motion. Andy Reid really perfected that. You see a lot of teams around the league mimic some of his schemes in the red zone. So he is a good offensive strategizer. A lot of coaches would not know what to do with a guy like a Tyreek Hill, who does not run great routes, but he's blazing fast. There's a lot of teams out in the league, like Cordell Patterson, for example, they have players that are extremely fast, and they just don't know how to use them other than like a special teams play. And he's really perfected that. So that's what I give the guy. He's had terrible time management issues over the years. Look at that one Super Bowl against the Patriots. I mean, I was ready to club him just last year when he had when they were down 24-0. I was sitting there tweeting that out. Look at Andy Reid. So yeah, you're right about that. But he has learned, and he is good at adjusting his talent to what they do best, rather than his air quote system. Ask Michael Vick. He was ruined after, and that's his words, not mine, when he came back from prison and got another big contract with the Eagles. I think they even got to the playoffs one year.
Yeah, I think by utilizing his
You know who hasn't been a factor, who we don't talk about, who was a real star in the league after leaving the Jets, Levanian Bell. He just hasn't taken off at KC the way you thought he might.
Yeah.
With the Jet team, you'd figure, okay, the Jets aren't good. He's been hurt. He had some problems with the coach, Adam Gase, there. But since coming to KC, he's been kind of pretty ordinary.
Yeah, he's had a knee injury. That's why I really wouldn't extend these running backs past the first guy. That's just me. I wouldn't take them past the first guy. I know we got Henry down here, but you can find these guys in the draft. Look at Darrell Williams. I think he's going to be the lead guy for them today. Maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire comes back. I'm not sure how effective he'll be, though.
Jack. You're not going to get out. And we got Robert.
What?
Yes, with Robert. We're going to get a trivia question.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So, Jack, you're not getting off this Sunday with the trivia. And you got Robert here. And, Robert is very knowledgeable on stuff. So, I got a trivia question for both of you, and this has to do with playoffs, right? Which quarterback, surprisingly, has a higher playoff percentage, passing percentage, than Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Steve Young, John Elway, Phillip Rivers, Eli, Big Ben, and Brett Favre? Which quarterback, surprisingly, we know the ones that should have it better, like Joe Montana. But this is a guy you wouldn't think of that has a higher percentage passing rating than those great quarterbacks.
Okay. I'll take a guess. Steve Young.
No, it's higher than Steve Young.
He's not a star in the league, I could gather by your word, but a good quarterback. The guy I'm thinking of, wow.
Okay, was it the people you named, or was it not?
The people I named, this guy, surprisingly, has a higher percentage.
No, it's Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers.
No, that's not surprising. We know Aaron Rodgers.
Not in the group you know.
Oh, okay.
Right. Who has a higher percentage
than those names?
Than those great quarterbacks. Now, surprisingly, guys, so Joe Montana, we know does. Right.
I'm doing a quick scan in my head. I'm going to say a guy who's conservative. Not a ton of playoff games, but enough. Alex Smith.
How about you, Robert? What would be your answer? Somebody.
Yeah, I know the highest QBR is Rodgers. I looked it up.
Right.
And I want to say Young was second actually, and Peyton Manning was third. So depending on what stats you're looking at, I don't know if you want to go completion percentage. I'd say Peyton Manning.
Well, again, he would have a better one than him.
See, this guy would be better than he's better than those players you named.
I just named, okay, but surprisingly better. He's not somebody you would think of. Phil Simms had an outstanding Super Bowl. He won 22 for 25. Aaron Rodgers, we already know has one that he has a higher QB. This is a guy that you wouldn't think in the playoffs would have a higher passing percentage than those quarterbacks I named.
Was he in the playoffs this year?
No.
Oh,
it's higher than Tom Brady, higher than Peyton Manning, higher than Steve Young, John Elway, Rivers.
Well, I want to think a little more, kind of regroup.
Okay, just trying to understand the question fully before I go out and guess out on here. Let's see, and it was a playoff or regular season.
This is only in the playoffs.
Only in the playoffs.
Yes,
okay. My guess is Eli Manning.
Better it is. How about you, Jack?
Okay.
I said Alex Smith before. Let me switch off. This is the limited amount of player percentage we're talking about, right?
Right, the highest percentage
I'm going to
rating.
go Kirk Cousins.
Well, believe it or not, guys, the person that has a higher playoff percentage passing rating than Brady, Peyton, Young, Eli, Elway, Rivers, Big Ben, and Brett Favre, someone you would never think of. It was Mark Sanchez.
Oh, that was a real trick question there.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
We
And
throw
you,
that stat out the door.
I wouldn't have gotten that one had I give me the week
Butt
to
bubbles
sit.
are
Yeah.
not involved. Yeah.
that's what makes it such an interesting trivia question.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
you know,
true.
some
Yeah.
of these statistics are distorted. In the Super Bowl when the Broncos lost to the Seahawks and Peyton Manning was quarterbacking them. Peyton Manning set a Super Bowl record for passing in that game, even though the Broncos got demolished. You know, he kept thinking, you know, little dunks and
Sure.
dinks that they were giving him, you know, because
Sure.
they had such a big lead, the Seahawks. So,
And I saw that. I'm like, are you kidding?
Mark
Sanchez.
Sanchez.
That's a good trick. I would have never. That would have been the last guy. Yeah,
Me
they did
too.
go to a couple of AFC championship games.
Yes, they
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yes, they
They had
did.
to win the games to get to that point. Yeah.
Well, before I let you go, Robert, I want to
Yeah.
get your thoughts. First on the games, who would be your picks to win today?
Well, I mean, on my show, I've already picked Green Bay and Kansas City. The comfort level of Green Bay. You look at how good they play up there, and the fact they've been there before. You look at the Tampa players, not named Tom Brady or Gronkowski. Look at everybody else. Are they up to play in this big game, in this environment? So, yeah, I'll give the edge to Green Bay, but that game can go either way. So, but I'm saying Green Bay, Kansas City, the two home teams, nothing real exciting there.
Okay. And one more thought. Matt Stafford, of course, they're saying is going to be traded. He's done there. Detroit's got a new GM, a new head coach. They're pushing on. What do you think would be his perfect fit? And I'm going to give you 4 teams that we've talked about already.
Okay.
You have the New England Patriots. You have the San Francisco 49ers. You have I almost said Baltimore Colts. You have the Indianapolis Colts. And the 4th team, I'm forgetting right now, Jack, off the top of my head. But just out of those 3 teams, we'll say, who do you think is the best fit?
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis is one of them.
You didn't mention Carolina Panthers. I think.
There you go. We'll put Carolina in there too.
Yeah, you know, I've been thinking about and talking about and researching the Patriots. They have enough draft capital to make that work. They're willing to take the guy's salary. They have the money. And then if you want to go second, yeah, the Colts got a lot of money in the cap. They have nothing to do with Rivers now. He's officially retired, and he only signed for 1 year. You know, a lot of times if this guy is still signed on your team for whatever reason, that cap hit, even if that player retires, still falls as dead money on your cap. That's something the NFL's got to fix. I keep reading that when these players retire. But I think the Patriots would be the best fit for him, and I think they would gladly give up that first-round pick, even though this guy is 32 years old, and he does have a pretty hefty salary. I can see Belichick with the quarterback of his stature probably go out and get another receiver or 2 in free agency. They've already got the defense. They'll get the running game, and I think he would blossom with that kind of coaching.
It depends how much someone wants him. Hypothetically, let's say the LA Rams, okay?
Yeah.
Who I definitely think would replace, Jared Goff with Stafford, do it in the snap of the finger. Let's say they give up their late number 1 this year and their number 1 draft pick next year. Lions might go for that, okay?
Yes.
It might be the team we kind of least expect. Obviously, none of the 4 teams left in the playoffs would be in play. But there's some surprising teams who we wouldn't think so much about who might actually be interested in making a move. Someone like Matthew Stafford.
The only thing I say to that, Jack, is Matt Stafford's going to have to want to go there. I mean, he's not just going to go to any team. So he's going to have.
Well, we don't know. We don't know.
Oh, I know that for a fact. They're not going to just send Matt Stafford over to the Jaguars or something like that, or to the Jets. That's not going to happen.
I mean, he paid over $200 million.
Well, no,
he could retire.
Play for those particular teams.
Well, I'm just saying he's going to have a say in this.
Yeah.
He's got that stature with Detroit. He's been there for a long time. They're going to try to make him happy. Trust me. So I agree a lot with your second pick. I think with Phillip Rivers, Matt Stafford is a little bit of an upgrade from Phillip Rivers, got a stronger arm, a little bit younger, and they're built to win right now. They're built to go to that Super Bowl. And I think if Matt Stafford goes there, he's gonna bring the Colts up that one more level they need to get to. The Patriots, I don't think have enough weapons for him to be happy there.
Listen, guys, I like to play GM. I'm the GM of the New Orleans Saints. I'm giving you Taysom Hill and my number 1 and number 2 draft picks this year for Matthew Stafford. You got their attention. If they like Taysom Hill a lot, the Lions, they maybe go for it.
That's not a bad thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the pass rush and everything. Mike Thomas will be back. He was pretty banged up this year, and we didn't know that until the end there. But yeah, the Colts, here's the thing about them, guys. They got a lot of money under the cap. They manage it really well. And they've got running game, defense, offensive line. They can still add pieces. Very good GM. It would probably be the ideal fit. But, I mean, New England and with the Patriots, they could make some adjustments, man. And I wouldn't write off Belichick just yet.
Me either, Robert. Me either.
Don't count Jerry Jones out. Imagine.
Oh, my God.
Well, he's originally from Texas.
Oh, my God. Would you stop with Dallas? Every week we can hear
that would be talked about big time. That would be great for our show, though.
It would.
But Cowboy fans would not be that upset because.
Oh, I think they would, Jack.
Elite quarterback.
I think they would. You're giving up a young quarterback that is one of the better in the league for older quarterback that is definitely not as dynamic as
one might not be able to sign.
Understand. So, Robert, thank you for coming in again. Spend a little extra time with us today. Always a pleasure having you on every Sunday. Everybody go check out SportsScope. Great show. You're on Twitter too, Robert, right, Robert?
Yeah. Twitter, not just Periscope, but podcast on Apple, iTunes, Apple Podcast, Spotify, anywhere you can find your podcast.
So Rob likes Green Bay and Kansas City in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, write that
Green
down.
Bay, Kansas. You guys got who do you guys like? Green Bay, Kansas City, also. Or?
I'm the same way. I like.
I'm Green Bay and Buffalo. So there you go.
Okay.
So guys, again, go check out SportsScope on a bunch of platforms. All you got to look up is SportsScope. The scope with a K. Again, thanks, Robert, for coming in. We'll see you again next week. On our Super Bowl show, Robert will be one of the hosts with us and with Keith Engel from TGI Sports. It's going to be a big show 2 weeks after the championship. Join us for that. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of guests. We're going to be very busy, Robert. So you have a great
looking forward to that, guys.
Yeah, you have a great day, Robert. Enjoy the games. I beat you to it. And we'll take it easy, Robert.
We'll play GM again next week. Decide who goes where.
There you go. So there you go, folks. The great Robert Butler, and entertaining show over there at SportsScope. Jack, we're going to take a quick last break here. We'll be back and do what we get paid a lot to do, Jack. We're going to break down the games ourselves and make our picks and why. Not just we're going to just make the picks, folks. We're going to say why we're making the picks. And it will be reasonably intelligent. So please.
Well, we have a little clause in our contract when we predict them right. We get.
Yeah, you get a little incentive. A little incentive.
Get that put in.
Yes, we do, Jack. So let's hopefully we get them right this week. We'll be right back, folks.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting the stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Info Line. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed. Yeah, well, Kyle's not here. How come? Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's the first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I made it clear to Matt that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on live Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. You start your day off, folks, so join us every morning if you can. If you can't, we are on Spotify, and you can check our show out later. So we're on in your car, we're on at work. So we're on the Spotify right now, Jack. We're on the Spotify podcast. Hosts who, they go ahead and they share our show, our audio.
Mark Sanchez, you got to be kidding.
I know, right? What a trivia.
I feel nauseous even having to answer that. Hearing that as an answer. Come on.
Yes, I know. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on, Jack, before we get to our picks and breaking down the game. As I said, we are on Spotify, so you can hear us on your car. You can hear us at work. If you're busy, you can't join us in the morning. Some days, Wednesday, during the week, Wednesday through Friday, we're on Spotify. We got a new website, folks. It's nessp.info, just under reconstruction for the Northeast Streaming Sports network that we're on with a bunch of shows. Check out Northeast Streaming Sports, guys, if you like sports talk. And we got some really, really good shows over there, Jack. We got some big plans, Northeast does, about getting us out and reaching more people. We're on right now in the United Kingdom at one of their media outlets, their sports outlets there. You'll see some of their shows on Northeast Streaming Sports also in some of their clips. It's really all about sports, Jack, at Northeast Streaming Sports, and I'm happy we're on there. If you want to sponsor the Mac and Jack Sports Show, it's at MacMan period 121062 where if you want to get the word out there about your product, we reach a lot of people, and we'll be happy to bring you in. The rates are really good. So that's all of our stuff on the side, Jack, that we're doing besides just our daily show. So it's pretty exciting, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. So, Jack, we get to our games today, and I can't wait to watch them because I know they're all – I have a feeling that these championship games are going to come down to the wire. I mean, you got 4 dynamic offenses playing, and you've got 4 solid defenses playing. I mean, there's not really, as Anthony Cervino said earlier, there's not really weaknesses to expose. Tampa Bay's a little iffy in the secondary. The Buffalo defense is a little undersized. They really flow to the ball, but might be able to get beat up the middle. There's going to be a lot of strategy going on, Jack, on the matchups on what to take advantage of, the weakness in the team. Even though it's not glaring, there are some. And whoever has the best strategy and can execute that game plan, the best is going to win the game and all on both games today, Jack.
Well, a lot, I'm not a big believer in luck per se, but a lot of times it's how the ball bounces. How many times have we seen a deflection go off a receiver and it just happens to deflection to go in the area where one of the defenders is standing around where he could intercept it? Fumbles, mistakes. When you look at the quarterbacks involved, Brady, Rodgers, they do make mistakes, but it's not frequent. Mahomes, you wouldn't think he's prone to making many mistakes. Josh Allen was a mistake machine the last couple of years, but this year he's like a new man. He's not turning the ball over the same way, and it's so unpredictable. We could analyze these games all we want. We could talk about defensive schemes, individual players. We could really make ourselves look smart. But as they said, who said it? Was it Herm Edwards who said you got to play the game?
You got to win you play to win the game, Jack.
You play to win the game. And, you play the game, and so many things you can't count on. There could be a jarring tackle that could knock a ball loose from one of the backs that very rarely fumbles. And who's going to be there to fall on the ball? How many times a mistake's made where it's a fumble where the guy's own teammate recovers it and we forget about it?
Yeah.
Like it never took place. So there's that element, of luck and so on. Then there's the element of the weather as well, how players are going to be able to handle it. I know they say, well, everyone's going to be ready to play in the weather no matter what it is. But some players it affects more than others. I'm sure there've got to be a couple of players when the weather conditions are really bad. All they're thinking about is fulfilling their obligation. I just want to play the game and get back to the locker room. I want to win the game, but is that the thing first and foremost on their mind, or is it survival? And Kansas City and Green Bay are difficult places to play as far as the weather goes. And there's the wind factor for the quarterbacks. No matter how determined and great the quarterbacks are, you're throwing into the wind. You have to make quite an adjustment, okay? Yeah. In Green Bay, is that going to play to Rodgers' advantage if there's a lot of wind? Because he understands the stadium. They practice there. And then again, there's Tom Brady. He's been through this so much. It's more than just being in 9 Super Bowls. Think of all the AFC championship games he was in, the ones they even lost.
Yeah.
So this is like common to him to be in a playoff game. This isn't, it might be special to us watching him. It's not special to him. This is just a continuation of what he did in New England. So he's going to be a cool customer. You can't count on him to crack and make, these mental mistakes. So, we'll see how it plays. It's very intriguing.
You made a lot of good points, especially with the win. And we don't talk about Byron Williams when he comes on, talks about a lot. The special teams, what happens there, where they get the ball. Is there a block punt? Yeah. Look at Baltimore last week hitting 2 field goals off the field goal post for the win. And that gave them no points where they could have at least had 3 or 6.
Tucker, the great field goal kick, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, these things, you're 100% right, Jack. All these things are going to come into play for this 1 hour game, really, not count commercials. It's really an hour game. So if, during that hour of play, anything can happen, an offsides, a holding, a clip, a pass interference, all these things are going to affect the game. But if you're going to look at it minus all that stuff, Jack, and we're going to, and let's not forget, Patrick Mahomes is playing on a turf toe. And I don't know if you've ever experienced a turf toe, Jack.
No.
The pain is excruciating. Every time you step down and put weight on it, it hurts. It hurts unbelievably. And I think, and we're going to do the KC Buffalo first, I think this is a big key for Buffalo to win. If they can get pressure on Mahomes and make him run, even to roll out of the pocket, it's going to affect him. It's going to affect his throwing. It's going to affect just wincing every time that he gets hit or every time that he has to come down on that toe. It's going to affect the way he throws the ball. You can't help it. It's like being cut every time that you do something with a knife. So this is going to affect him more than people think. Now, they're going to give him a shot. They're going to numb it best they can for him. But eventually, a hit on that foot is really going to hurt him. If they can put pressure, if Buffalo can put pressure on Mahomes and make him move a lot, it's going to be a huge advantage for Buffalo. I think that Buffalo can stay with Kansas City offensively. It's going to come down to the defenses on both teams more than anything, because Patrick Mahomes, even Hurts, going to throw some nice balls. Josh Allen's going to make plays not only with his throwing arm, but with his legs, because he's going to have to run the ball against Kansas City. And as I said with Anthony, he's probably going to be their major running back this week. I would not be surprised if Josh Allen at least runs the ball 5 to 10 times this game, just to keep those defensive backs thinking. You got to make them respect the run in one way or another. And I think Buffalo's going to do that with Josh Allen today, not just his big arm, but with his legs. And if Josh Allen is successful running the ball, I think the Buffalo Bills will win this game. If he's not, I think Kansas City wins this game, Jack.
And, Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs has been one of the great quarterback wide receiver duos in the NFL this year. But you make a very good point about Josh Allen being a weapon, how he could run the ball. Because Buffalo's main featured back is Devin Singletary. And like I said before, he would be no more than a very good backup on, other teams with a very strong running game.
Agreed.
So what's Kansas City to do? Do they want to keep Josh Allen in the pocket? Okay. Do they blitz and do they risk then he takes off and then he can run and he could cause damage because he's a very mobile quarterback? Or they just put on a 4-man rush and see what they could do with that, drop off, help out as far as Stephon Diggs go. It's intriguing. So we keep talking about how these games are going to wind up, but so much of it comes down to the coach's strategy as well. What's best to do? We could speculate and also who's going to make adjustments, and on the coaching staffs as the game goes along. I mean, are they going to try to do something different? So much of the time, we see certain plays run that haven't been run for about 10 games. They were maybe run one time early in the year. A team sees it works. They keep it in their memory bank and they bring it out when they really have to do it. Like what Andy Reid did last week. 4th and 1 on his own 48. Everyone thought they really weren't going to snap the ball. They just wanted to draw Cleveland offside, but he snapped the ball and he ran a play that they did early in the year.
Yeah.
So,
great point, Jack.
It's going to be intriguing.
For Kansas City, I think with Patrick Mahomes with that toe, I think they're going to be running the ball a little bit more than they've done in the past. I don't think that you're going to see Patrick Mahomes throw the ball 40 times this game. I think they're going to depend on that running game, and that's Buffalo's weakness. They're small up front. So to me, it's going to come down to two things. It's going to come down to do the Chiefs run the ball more to take that pressure off Mahomes so he doesn't have to move. He just does his play-action pass. And does Buffalo take advantage of Josh Allen's mobility? I think those are the two keys that I'm going to be watching today, whether Kansas City wins the game or Buffalo wins the game. Because to me, Jack, those are the two weaknesses If I was a coach, I'd be exploiting. I would be trying to get Patrick Mahomes moving. And if I was the Chiefs coach, I would be running the ball more than I did during the year. And with Buffalo, I definitely would have design plays for Josh Allen.
Listen, only Patrick Mahomes knows how he's feeling, and he's sharing that with the trainers and his coaching staff. I mean, we don't know. His toe could be affecting him, but he could still be fine on it. Like you said, they'll give him a shot. They'll tape him up a little bit, and he could be fine. I mean, we don't know, but if his mobility is compromised, they're going to have a problem. That means Kansas City's running game, Hilaire Edwards, who is doubtful, who's going to be playing today, they have to come up big.
Yeah.
They have to have enough of a running game, to keep the Buffalo pass rush honest. So Patrick Mahomes, when he does pass, isn't going to have to roll out a great deal.
I definitely agree with that. So Tampa Bay and Green Bay, we talked about a lot today, but not in our point of view. I think that Green Bay will win this game, and there's two ways that they should do this. One, they got to make a commitment to the run, whether that works or not. They got to keep Tampa Bay's front seven intact. I mean, sometimes all that matters, Jack, is that you're attempting to run, to keep them honest, keep that defense on their toes, and not coming, I should say, flat-footed, and not coming on their toes right after, Rodgers. So I do think they're going to try to run the ball with Aaron Jones. And with Green Bay, they're going to have to come. Their pass rush has improved. Their defense has improved. They're going to have to make Brady get off his mark. That 3-step, 5-step drop, and the ball's out fast. They got to not let him do that. Anytime that you beat Brady in the past, whether he was with the Patriots or even this year, you got to interrupt that timing. Because if you don't, Brady will pick you apart. So they're going to have to come up, find a way to blitz up in that middle, whether they do it by crossing the defensive lineman and bringing pressure up the middle, or whether they do it by linebackers or safeties. They're going to have to come up the middle, get in his face, and rush him and take him off his mark. If they do that, they got a good chance at stopping that Tampa Bay offense. If they don't, it's going to be a long day for that Green Bay defense.
Well, it's a long day for Green Bay when they played early in the season. And you kind of wonder what Tampa Bay took out of that despite their dominance. Are they thinking what they had success for that game, they're going to have success with again? Because Green Bay's bound to make adjustments. Individual players are bound to make adjustments. And but if you take away Tampa Bay's running game, Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, which I don't think Green Bay's going to be able to completely do, and force Brady to air it out, it increases Green Bay's chances. But I'm looking for actually a high-scoring game.
Yeah.
I'm looking for something like a 30-20 game. I'm picking Green Bay, to win it. And Buffalo, Kansas City's pretty intriguing because of the X factor, how Mahomes is. If he was completely healthy and they were ready to rock, fine. But if Mahomes is compromised, and he has to go out of the game for any reason. Like I mentioned before to Anthony Cervino, when I asked him, can Chad Henne actually win the game? Let's say they're tied up 3-3 early in the second quarter. Can he actually go out and win it? He said Henne'd have to play the game of his life, which is true. Henne came in with a lead last week. He basically held on. Yeah. He reminded me of a pitcher who comes in out of the bullpen with a 3-run lead, and he guts it out for 3 innings, and they win by 1 run or something to that account.
Right.
It's intriguing, all these X factors. Brian Leftwich, the offensive coordinator, too, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What type of game is he going to call? Is Brady going to overrule him in spots? Because I get the feeling with Tom Brady, he doesn't call many audibles during the game. I mean, I think basically they know exactly what they're going to do, and either it's going to work against Green Bay or it's not. But they're going to give themselves a lot of different possibilities, options. No Antonio Brown means the long passing game is going to be compromised to an extent, even though I know Antonio Brown didn't have a lot of long passes thrown to him during the year. It was mainly a lot of cumulative, catches. but Antonio Brown represented a real weapon. Okay,
Right.
that Green Bay was going to have to respect, the weapon they're not going to have, today.
Very true. I mean, Evans is a great receiver going downfield, but he doesn't have the speed of Antonio Brown. It's not even close. But with Tampa Bay a defense against Rodgers, again, Jack, the running games they're gonna try and do, but it's important they stay in their lanes, because if they overrush Rodgers, he can roll out and really burn you, because those receivers come to the ball really well and they flow. It's called a blitz drill, basically, Jack. Where
any combination, Mac, very quickly, that we have in the Super Bowl, the two teams left, there's going to be a fun storyline, because if it's KC, whether they're going to repeat, they're the champs. If it's Buffalo, will they finally win their first Super Bowl? If it's Tampa Bay, will Brady get to the mountain again? And Green Bay, will Rodgers, get it done?
I agree, Jack. So thanks for joining us today, folks. We enjoyed having you. Some great games coming up. Great guests today with Anthony Cervino and Robert Butler. We'll see you Wednesday. We got the Philly guy as always. And we got a few special guests coming in this week, Jack. So next week, we're going to be loaded again and ready for Bear. So, guys, have a great day. Enjoy the games, and we'll see you back here Wednesday from 8 to 10. Thanks for joining us.
Enjoy the games.